Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Guitar Live. Let's get a guitar going here. I'm Thomas Michaud. If you're new here, welcome. Today, I'm going to answer your guitar-related questions. I have some pre-submitted questions, and I'll go ahead and start there. But if you have a question anytime, go ahead and enter it in the chat, and I will answer all those questions as soon as I get through the pre-submitted ones. And you can enter anytime, ask a question, but I ask that you start the question with the word question, just because there's a lot of comments too, and that way I can see quickly which are questions and I won't miss it. So the first question I have for our pre-submitted question is, what is your recommended thickness for a pick? Are different thicknesses recommended for different styles of music? How do you decide which pick is right for you? Great question from Ria. This is something that a lot of people take for granted, that it's no big thing, but it actually, having a pick that's too thick can make it difficult for you to play, and you're naturally going to assume there's something wrong with you. So let me talk a little bit about the way we measure picks, first of all. Usually they're described in terms of millimeters, and they range anywhere from 0.4 millimeters, this average thin pick, to close to 1 millimeter or 0.9 millimeters. A thin pick would be in the area of 40 to 60 millimeters. 70 to 80 is a medium, and a thick one is somewhere around 0.9 or 90 millimeters. This sounds technical, and a lot of times you just go, I need a thin pick, medium pick, or thick pick. But some are measured in millimeters, so it helps to know how they would fall. For instance, the Dario likes to put their picks by millimeter, so if you're used to a medium pick, you kind of need to know the millimeters if you choose that type of pick. There are also different materials of picks, and it does affect the feel of the pick. For most beginners, and I'll come back to that in a minute. For most beginners, I recommend a thin pick because you're just starting with strumming, and a thin pick is going to make it easier to get a smooth strum. A thick pick is difficult, and you need some experience to be able to wobble the pick enough to get a smooth strum with a thick pick. Most of the time, beginners start with a thin pick, and they would stay there for a while. If you're playing types of music that you go from playing melodies or bass notes to playing strumming, a medium pick is a good choice. It's going to take a little more practice to be able to get a good smooth strum with a medium pick. And I generally, by the way, use a medium pick on an acoustic guitar because I'll go from strumming, which, I'll have to wobble my hand back and forth, and picking bass notes. The problem with a thin pick is it tends to not give me a good solid bass note. It's hard to hit it because the pick is just bounces through the string without giving a good solid clean note. I've got something weird going on here. Let me see if I can fix that. I didn't like that at all. They call it auto framing. We got to get rid of that. Okay, I think that worked, and we'll adjust this too. No. Where's my mic? Right there. I want to make sure you can see my guitar. Yeah, that's better. Auto framing. Not a fan of auto framing. Okay. Thanks for your patience. Let's see. Next, well, if you think of any other questions about a pick, I forgot about the thick pick. I was going to talk about that. A thick pick is particularly good if you're doing a lot of melody playing. I always use a thick pick on my nylon string guitar when I'm playing melodies, and I use a little thin, thick, jazzy pick. I don't want the pick bending when I'm trying to hit a melody note. I want a good, solid, clean note. And I'll use my wrist to go up and down like this. People, of course, if you're playing bass, use a thicker pick, a very thick pick. And there are some styles of music that you might use a thick pick. Stuff like bluegrass, because there's a lot of melody and bass note playing, and I would probably lean towards using a thicker pick. I consider the medium pick kind of a Swiss Army knife. You can do pretty much everything. A thin pick is great for strumming and particularly good for on the beginner side of things, because you're going to make it. It's going to be easier to get a good smooth strum. And a thick pick is something that you're probably going to want to do a lot of bright, sharp notes, playing melody, playing different styles that use a good attack. The best way to choose a pick for yourself is to experiment. Start with a thin pick, especially if you're early, and then try it. Get some different picks. I would go to a store, and if they have a bin, you can buy a few of each of the different picks. And that way you can try not only different thicknesses, but different materials. And then you have a little different feel. Some you'll like more than others. And also different shapes, of course. Some are big, some small. Generally speaking, you want to start with the common shape. I know these as fender picks. This is not a fender pick, but that shape, I originally saw this with a fender picks. It's a kind of a middle size. It's not too small and not too big. But try a few different shapes too. And over time, you'll see that you just drift towards one size or one material or another. And you might even find that for some things that you're playing, you prefer one pick, and for other things, a different pick. Next question. When I'm fingerpicking or playing arpeggios, my notes sound too separated or plunky. How can I make my fingerpicking sound smoother and more connected? Well, this is from this question is, I've gotten this question a million times over the years, and it's very common. When you first fingerpicking, I think most everybody gets a kind of a plunky sound. And it's caused by a number of different things. This plunky sound is generally three things. It's too much attack with your fingers, poor technique, that means how you're hitting the strings with your fingers, and then there's timing gaps between the notes. You can soften your attack, that means not pluck the string so hard. One thing that helps is to bring your fingers into your palm like this, as opposed to plucking outwards like this. So like this. Avoid that. Try to keep your hand steady and bring your fingers in. Avoid this. Now I'm exaggerating, of course, but even that's what I see a lot of beginners doing, more like that. Avoid that. Try to work at getting the right angle with your fingers as you pull in. So what that means is, see my hand here? Try not to, this produces a sharp note. I'm bringing the tip of my finger into my palm. What you want to do is bring your finger up. See, that's a nice, a prettier sounding note, right? Smoother, rounder. Now this can be overwhelming, I get it. It's a lot to keep a track of when you're finger picking. And over time, the key is to try and focus on just working on one thing at a time and keep coming back at it. This is more important than like the magic bullet. And then keep comparing to these particular issues. The other one is try to avoid the gaps between the notes, so make the notes even. As opposed to practice an exercise where you work on these things at slow, moderate tempo. One of the key issues is keeping your hand relaxed. You find yourself tensing, just take it and shake it out and let your fingers dangle a little bit and then come back to the guitar strings and do it again. Start on just one chord. and then add 2 chords. So what you want to do is not have too much going on in your left hand, so you can focus on relaxing and getting a good sound with your right hand. And then little by little, up the ante. In other words, I say start with 1 chord, then to 2 chords, then try it on the changing chords more fast, quickly. Correct English here. So when I add a 3rd chord, I've got to focus on my left hand for a minute. It's okay if you're ready for that. Take it a step by step and keep coming back at it. Persistence is a key here. Relax. Getting tense. Stop. Relax. Come back at it. You've done it for 5 minutes. You're starting to feel tension all the time. Let it go. Come back later in the day, next practice session. Keep coming back at it. Know that this is what everybody goes through. Smooth, controlled motions is what you're after, and your hand will get the idea if you just keep coming back at it. The best thing you can do is, I made a finger style course, and it's within my Real Guitar Success membership. And what I do is I start with very simple exercises and build one on the other. And that's the main idea. You can do it for yourself. You can do it actually with YouTube videos, but you just have to pick and choose. If something seems complicated and you have to focus on the left hand, that's not the right thing for developing good right hand technique yet. You can get to that, but it's hard to focus on several things at a time, so start very simple. This is the next question, Shulamit asks, which notes or intervals sound good together when I'm playing melodies or solos? Does it matter if I'm playing a major or minor key? So she's asking about intervals, harmonizing intervals, or harmonizing notes, and using intervals to harmonize notes. That's a good way to say that. So let's say I have a C scale. What notes would go with that to harmonize? And so on. Those are harmony notes, playing 2 notes at the same time. There's a technique involved there, but right now I'm talking about which notes to choose. And the way we label that is we call them intervals. Intervals are the distance between 2 notes. So the distance from this note to this note, I did on 1 string so you could see the distance. That's if I play 2 strings. That's that same note right there. That interval is a third. And that's a common one for harmonizing notes, thirds. You can also do different intervals, but they have different sounds. If you're learning, it doesn't really help to just take all the intervals all at once and try and get used to them. It's too much. I would start with maybe just getting comfortable with using thirds and practicing a scale with thirds. So let's take this and this note, that's a third. Play it together. Going up, that's a third. There we are. Now I got the end. And so on. Now, when you take notes from a scale and you're harmonizing, just take other notes from the scale. So the way to think about that is if I'm going thirds, which is what I recommended to start with a note, let's say the root note on a key of C. C is the root note of that C scale, and go up, skip a note, and go up a next note. So C, D, E, that would be your third in the scale of C major. I'll play the 2 together. Now let's say I want to harmonize the next note. Next note is D. I'll go up, again, skip a note, D, E, F. So I want to play D and F together. Now I can't play it on the same string, so I got to find it over here. And so on. You keep going like that. E, you'd skip a note, skip F, and play G with that, and you'd find that on the scale. You could find it anywhere. For instance, here's a C. Now I want E. That's an open E string. D. I go D, E, F. That's the F note. And so on. I know the C scale by memory. I don't even have to think the notes. And that's what will happen when you practice it. I would start with one scale, actually, and C is a great one to start with, and just practice it up and down until you get comfortable with it, and then try doing it in another scale, particularly if it's a scale that you use already. You want to make sure you can play the scale. It's kind of hard to harmonize a scale that you don't know how to play, so practice the scale first if it's new to you. Major and minor. That was a C major scale. If it was a C minor scale, I would do the same thing, only I would use the notes from the C minor scale. So here's a C minor scale. Let me play it. Now I want to play a harmony with the first note. I'm not going to pick C major because that's not in the C minor scale. It's E, C, D, E flat. So I need E flat. That's the new harmony note. If I were here, I can't do it because I can't play that first E string as a flat, so I'd have to play it up here. There it is. That's the higher note that I would want. And you would do the same thing for any scale. If it was a D minor scale, you'd go D, E, F would be the next. D and F would be the harmony notes for D and F, for D. And it wouldn't be F sharp, and the minor, D minor, F is natural, and so on. So feel free to ask more questions if you think of anything about that. Next question. I just discovered augmented triads, and they really sound interesting. Can you explain what they are and how I can use them as passing chords to spice up my progressions? So, to be honest with you, full disclosure, I can't remember the last time I've used an augmented chord. I understand the theory, and I'll explain that, but I can't give you any kind of demonstration because I don't have one handy that I can offer. That might be something I do more research and maybe I'll make a lesson for my members, but it'd be disingenuous for me to talk about how I use them when I don't. Augmented chord is, we're going to talk about intervals. So we just talked about the C major scale. And to make an augmented chord on a C note, you would pick an interval of a third above that in the C scale. That would be C, E, and then a third above that. So in the C scale, that would be G, but that's not quite that's a major. We need a major third. That's what I'm trying to say. We'd have to take the G and make it G sharp. Here's the augmented chord: C, E, G sharp. Sounds tense, huh? So they have certainly a very specialized use. Major third is the same as two whole steps. A whole step on guitar is 2 frets. That's a whole step. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. So that's a major third from C to E. E to G is only a minor third. E, F, G. That's 3 frets. You need 4 frets. That's why the G sharp. Augmented chord. That's all I know for now. But I will probably know more later. Let's go on. Is it a good idea to do the fingerboard logic course at the same time I'm going through the beginner's journey course in Real Guitar Success? So she's talking about my membership, Real Guitar Success. The fingerboard logic course is a course I designed from people asking me, how can I learn the notes on the fretboard? And even though I start off by explaining in the course strategies for finding the notes on the fretboard, things like learn the notes on the sixth string, so G, A, it starts there, and then once you know that, if you go up 2 frets and over 2 strings, you can find the same note on the 4th string. That's one strategy. So that's G, and that's G. That's A, that's A. And there's a number of different strategies like that. So you kind of piece together a puzzle so you can remember the notes on the fretboard, and then it gives you specific steps to practice, exercises. So the trick, of course, is not just to have to think it out all the time, but to get so good at it, your fingers just know the notes. This course is very valuable if you've been playing for a while, and especially if you're playing scales and solos and things like that. When you're first starting out, I recommend just staying with the beginner's journey and going through it, because I deliberately put very progressive steps in the beginner journey for a beginner to learn one thing after another. And dividing your attention to learning the notes on the fretboard will help you eventually, but be so disconnected it could be fairly discouraging. You have a hard time seeing progress on either if you're dividing your attention that way. I would stay with the beginner's journey. Consider fretboard logic something in your back pocket for later on. You're going to learn the chords, strumming patterns, techniques for strumming smoothly, basics of finger picking, a good solid foundation. I include theory at the right times and places to kind of help it make sense. And then once you've done that, I actually recommend the course on bar chords. It's called Bar Chords for Everyone, because you're going to need bar chords. And I've broken it down to make it very easy to learn bar chords. A lot of the mistakes I see with beginners is trying to learn bar chords. They're playing some open chords and going right into a bar chord in a song without any kind of exercise or practice or building up to it. And it's a big jump. Bar chords are a bigger jump than most people realize. Then might be either concurrently with the bar chord course or after it, the fretboard logic. And it depends on your interest, because there are courses on Spanish guitar, finger picking, there's more advanced chords. Depends on your interest also. Good question. Next question. I am a vision-challenged adult learner, and I'm having trouble keeping my right hand fingers on the correct strings during technical exercises like scales and arpeggios. Do you have any practical tips for developing accurate finger placement without relying on sight? Yes. And I can relate. My eyes are not very good, and I wear glasses, but I have a hard time with glasses sometimes. What happens when I look at my strings, I'm looking down under my glass, and I can't really see where my fingers should go. So there are a number of tips I can give you, and I'm going to do that. But first of all, it actually is not as big a disadvantage as you think, because ultimately you want to get to where you don't have to look at your fretboard anyway. So what I mean is you want to be able to either get the note or chord by muscle memory combined with feedback from your ears, not looking and seeing where to put your finger. It's too slow. To look at where to put your finger and see that you got it right, it's too slow. By that time, the music's moved on. What you're doing is you're adding a step in there, visual confirmation. Yes, that's right. The music's already going on to the next note or chord, and now you're having to catch up, and that happens several times, and you can't keep up with the music. You want to get to where you say C chord in your mind, and your fingers go there, muscle memory. They know where the C chord is, both by distance with your fingers and the feel. And you won't be thinking distance. Fingers will just go there. So how to get there? Some of the tips that will help along the way are practicing slowly, getting your fingers in the right place, and then just feel what it feels like. Take your fingers off Now don't look and put your fingers on. Don't even play it yet. Now you can use your eyes and see if you got it right. Make adjustment. Again, do that over and over, a little bit each day, I would say. You know, what I'm trying to say is you do it repetitively, not in one session, over time. Maybe a week or two, depending on what you're doing. And then, you know, change it up. Don't just do the same thing until you got it. Try it on a different chord. And what you're doing is you're forcing yourself to go by feel and muscle memory little by little. You're using your eyes still, but not as much. So here's what students normally do. I'm completely using my vision to guide my fingers to go where to go. Here's what I'm suggesting. Feel, think, does that sound look right? Okay, adjustment. Let me feel that again. Good. Take it out. Do it again. You see the difference? I'm still using my eyes, but that's not my first go-to. And do that over time, and you will find your fingers get better and better faster. As long as you are using your eyes, they don't have to, and they won't. It reminds me of when I was training a puppy. If you give them the treat without doing anything, they're not going to do what you're trying to get them to do because they know they're going to get a treat anyway. You have to keep pulling back. And of course, it's progressive. I keep pulling the treat back and giving them a little more of a challenge and then giving them the treat. Don't treat your fingers with the eyesight or what you're accustomed to. It's a comfort thing. You're used to using your eyes. You can try this too. This is sort of part of the same process. Try placing your fingers in a C chord, but I'm new. I don't even know where to get my fingers. Try counting strings. Start from here. See, I'm not looking. Well, first string, second string, first fret, got it. First string, second string, third string, second fret. Okay, that's first fret. Got it. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Let me look. Yeah, okay. I'm actually surprised. I hadn't done that for a long time. That's a little harder, but it will work. And do it a little at a time. You don't want to overtax yourself and just get frustrated because you're not actually playing anything. Do a couple minutes at a time. You want to get to where you can, your fingers just go down. So next step would be you can do this pretty quickly. Get your C chord. Now take your fingers and try to get them all down at once. Well, it's cheating because I know I can do that. But look, see how close you got? Take them off, try again. And keep going for what it feels like. Now you start incorporating your ears. Instead of just looking, try playing. And adjust it by sound. So maybe I got this. No. I'm trying a few things. And then I'll look, see, okay. Give yourself 2 or 3 tries without looking first to make adjustments. And that little bit of pushing yourself, that effort that you make, will make your fingers know where to go faster. They'll learn faster that way. That's a common theory in learned psychology. If you create a little bit of work for your brain, it learns faster than if you make it too easy. So what you're trying to do is make a little bit of extra work to get it before you confirm with your eyesight. And you keep stretching that. If that gets to be easy, you stretch it for a little longer. Don't look for longer. Practice in small bits because this can get strenuous. Just keep in mind that this kind of thing you want to do a little at a time. And it is more strenuous than just looking and practicing with your fingers. But it's a much quicker way to get good at being able to get your fingers in the right place without having to look at them. This will not only make so that you can play without looking, but it'll make you play smoother and faster because the looking actually, again, adds a step into the process that will slow you down in your playing. Little by little, your hands will know where to go on the fretboard. It reminds me of getting used to a dark room. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can walk in my bedroom with the lights off, and I know where everything is from going in my bedroom. So I'll go slow, but I can pretty well count there's going to be a chair there. And I do this sometimes. I get in the middle of the night, and I don't want to wake up somebody else in the bed. And so I'll leave the lights off, and it's kind of a challenge. I'll walk slow. I don't want to hurt myself, but I can pretty well get to the bathroom and back to my bed without looking. It's because my mind has a map inside of what the room looks like. And God forbid somebody leaves something on the floor like a dog toy, and sure as heck I'm going to step on it because I wasn't expecting it there. Same thing, your hands are going to get used to what the fretboard looks like little by little. And you'll have a visual map. It's not just visual in your mind, but it's actually kinesthetic. Your fingers know what it should feel like. Next question. I want to learn a simple way to change keys within a song, like playing Happy Birthday in the key of C and then smoothly shifting to another key partway through the song, and then going back to C. Okay, it does make for some cool music. It makes it a little more interesting, and especially if you've been playing for a while, that would be a nice way to start enhancing some of the stuff that you already know how to play. Happy Birthday is a good one. 3 chords. We can talk about this fairly easily with just 3 chords. But the same concept applies once you get to more chords. When you're playing a song, if it wasn't guitar, one of the easiest and fastest ways to change keys is just go up a half step. And it's very common in popular music, pop music. But it's not good for guitar. Watch. C. Go up a half step. It's D flat. How do you play a D flat on guitar? Well, I'd have to play it this way. Now, I don't want to do that. Now, I'm going to have to play the 5 chord in the key. I need G. No, I need 4 chord. We need a 4 chord. That's going to be a G. G sharp, rather. No, I don't want to play that. Yeah, so half steps are not good for guitar. It's because of the way the guitar is made. And we don't play a lot of flat chords on guitar unless you're playing, studio quality jazz. It's just not common. What I would say is it's easiest for guitar players to go up by a whole step. I'm not just talking about playing, but it's easiest for people to hear that change. So in the key of C, I probably... my first go-to would be to go up to D. Now, you can just jump into the key of D. So that would sound like this. Happy birthday to you. Happy. That's high for my voice. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I have to use some falsetto. Happy birthday, happy birthday to you. That's not a very good happy birthday, huh? Good day. It's not my grandkid's birthday, but I wouldn't play it in the key of C. I want to go to the key of D. I just go, happy birthday to you. I wouldn't just start playing the key of D. I would start with the chord and then come in vocally. So like this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Watch. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. So what I did is I played the chord, got their ears to recognize I'm in the new key, and then come in with the vocal part. Now here's, I think, a slicker way to do that. But, there's a time for both. I don't want to discount that as a possibility. When you're changing keys, one of the best ways to do that in general is to signal the new key by playing the 5 chord in that new key. So, in the key of C, the 5 chord is G. C, D, E, F, G. The 5 chord has the quality that makes you really want to go back to the 1 chord. So if I'm playing C, 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 I play G, 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 and go back to C, it really says C's that home chord. To make it even stronger, make that 5 chord a 7. In other words, G7 instead of just G. So now I've got G, a C, G7, and back to C. That's going to be, it has a pull. That 7 really has a tension to go back to the 1 chord. It's a tension that wants to be resolved. Now, I want to go to the key of D. So we want the 5 chord in the key of D, D, E, F, G, A. I'm going to make it A7 to make it even more powerful. And that's going to say, new key, A7, new key. Listen. I'm going to go A7, happy birthday to... Here's what that will sound like in practice. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Going to A7. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. And so on. I want to go back to the key of C. To you. Happy birthday. Happy. What is it? Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Go back to C. Happy birthday. G7, right? To you. I'm just going to play regular G in the song. Happy birthday to you. When you heard that G7, it said change, 7, tension, back to the C chord. Okay, that was fun. A lot of happy birthdays today. Let's call that complete for now. Feel free to, if you think of something to add to that or a question to add. I'm struggling with pull-offs, especially on the high string. When I do manage to get one, it's barely audible. What am I doing wrong and how can I make them louder and cleaner? Joan, you are not alone. The high string is one of the hardest ones to do pull-offs. It's in the place. There's 3 issues that usually cause people to have a problem with pull-offs in general. One is what? They're too soft. It's too wimpy. You need to actually pull. The other is that they're pulling straight up. You need to actually pluck the string to the side. It's kind of to the side and up. That, by the way, is the most common. I call it, it's kind of a flicking motion. I'm flicking over and up. So I said 3 things. Let's see. Flick instead of lift. Give it a little push. You need some plucky power. A little. It's not going to do it. You hear it? It's died away. And you might want to start practicing with the thicker strings because the problem with the thinner string is where you are makes it a little harder on the technique. So you need, 3 things. You need a certain amount of pressure on the string. That's the one I missed, pressure. And when you pull off, you need to press down clearly and then press up. Then I said too soft. That means you're pulling off too gently. Give it a little plucky power. And then finally, and probably the most critical in most people, is this motion of not pulling straight up. I see this a lot with beginners. They're doing this. See, I'm pulling up this finger. Can you see that? What I need to do is the side. I'm exaggerating and up. I'm exaggerating so you can see it. Now, here's what it looks like in practice. See, barely, it's so fast. Pressing down and giving a good tug. You might, it's worth considering to practice on some of the other strings and see if it's easier. What I do when I'm practicing on another string is I can feel that other string next to it on the way up. So I know that way I know I'm not pulling straight out. I feel the string next to it, glance at it on the way over. That said, here's an exercise that you can do. Start on the first string. Let's start on the 5th fret. I'm going to start with the 3rd finger. That's the easiest. And pull off. Now place the fingers back on and do it 3 times. Then go down the fret and do it again. And then go down the fret and do it again. Now that's going to be, you're getting the most bang for the buck. That's where you're going to be pulling off most often. Here's another exercise that will involve all the fingers. Start your first finger on the 5th fret. This is a more advanced exercise. Don't start there if you're a brand new beginner. But I want you to have this in your pocket. And those who are playing, this is might be where you want to start. I want to pull off, I want to be able to do a pull off with every finger. So I'm on the 5th fret, 1st finger, 2nd, that's the 6th fret, 7th fret, 3rd finger, and my pinky on the 8th fret. Now I pull off one at a time. 3rd finger, 2nd finger. Go down the fret, place them all back on, start again. Down the finger. You get the idea, huh? You see the pattern? Oh, fast one. Yeah. You want to get to where you can do it that fast. A nice clear sound. If it's not clear, go ahead and work it a couple of times. And if it's still not clear, slow it down until you can get it clear. And then pick it back up. And it doesn't have to be all in the same practice session, by the way. You can do the slow till you get it clear, then come back next practice section and start picking it up again. And if you're ready for more, then you do that on each string. So on, next string. And so on, next string. I do it on the 6th string, but yeah, just for practice and for muscle development. I hardly ever pull off on the 6th string. Okay, lot to work with there. And, you know, always my teachers has given me different options, but I've learned over time, and I've been told by teachers, just start with the first one. I mean, I know you have this, I have this sense I got to do them all, but start with the first, keep judging whether you're ready for the next thing and next thing, but keep coming back at it and keep nudging yourself a little bit. You will get this. It takes a little bit of oomph and muscle strength, and that'll come. You don't need to do any muscle strength exercises. This will develop your muscle. Good question. Let's see what else we got. I think we're coming to the end. That's the end of my pre-submitted questions. Let's take a look and see what we got over in the comments. Any questions? Oh, yes. Hi, everybody. Hey, welcome, Shulamit and John. Let's see. Hi, Ria. Ria, this is about fingerpicking. This is a good question. I think she's taking classical guitar lessons because she's asking me, is that a free stroke or rest stroke? That's a common terminology in classical guitar. A free stroke is where you're plucking through the string and coming into your hand, and the rest stroke is a little more forceful. You're plucking through the string and your finger is resting on the next string. So here's a rest stroke. See how my finger didn't come into my hand? And here's a free stroke. Here it's thinner and softer. There's a place for both. They're both very useful. I often use rest strokes for melody. It's fuller and rounder. Free strokes for finger style. This is a free stroke. Here it would sound like a rest stroke. We definitely don't want that. No rest strokes for arpeggio playing. Free strokes. Question. What price range would you be good for a reliable classical guitar? If you're a beginner, I would say in a couple $100 price range. There are guitars for $50, but it's a real hit or miss there. Something that would serve you well. And the risk here is that it doesn't really sound good, and you'd get discouraged and quit, and you really just wasted your money. Or it sounds okay, but there's some physical problems with it, and usually beginners think the problem's them, not the guitar. A couple $100, that would get a reliable brand. Yamaha makes great guitars in the classical range for under $200, at least till recently. I'm not sure what's going to happen now, but my memory within the last couple of years is you can get a decent classical guitar for learning for under $200 from Yamaha that works good, reliably. And I'm sure there are other brands that have good guitars, popular brands, Fender. I think that's all I know. I've pretty much, except for handmade classical guitars, I've always used either Yamaha or Alvarez. I haven't seen many Alvarez in the last years, because I'm talking 20, 30 years ago. Somebody else seconds that. Lee says, check out Yamaha. Yeah, what I like is they're consistent with their quality. I can depend on it. It's a lot of no brand name guitars. You find one that works and one that doesn't. The strings are too high off the frets, or they're buzzing somewhere. But you can count on fairly consistent. And if you get it from like Amazon, if it's not right, you can send it back and get another one. Or a store, they can not only one thing nice about the stores is not only do you get help while you're there picking the guitar, but if the guitar doesn't sound right, they can play and say, no, you need to work on your technique. It's not you. It's not the guitar. It's the way you're forming the chords. See, the guitar sounds good. So it's the done deal. Next question. Just to be clear, there are 4 milestones in the beginner's journey. So do those 4 and then bar chords for everyone? Ria's asking. I said the beginner's journey. The beginner's journey is actually 4 kind of courses. We call them milestones. And yes, I meant all 4 milestones. One of them's on strumming, one of them's on learning the chords, and then there are a variety of techniques involved in the milestones as well. All 4 milestones. And you'll find if you stick with it and you're consistent, it goes pretty quickly. And the next, I think I've hit the end of the questions for today. I'll tell you what, if you think of a question, I'll give you a few more minutes. Go ahead and add it to the chat. I'm going to do the drawing. For members of Real Guitar Success, we do a drawing every month. We have the lessons, 20 lessons each month. I call them guitar sessions, and 1 a day. The students just spend 10 minutes on the lesson each month to get exposed to new material, decide if they want to play more, put it in their favorites if they want to come back to it. If not, just check it off and move on. Do 1 a day, 5 days a week, 20 at the end of the month, and we enter you in a drawing for our Amazon gift card. Let's do that drawing. If you're thinking of a question, go ahead and add it in the chat. So here we go. In the drawing for this month, we have Brian. You are the winner. Brian, the eye guy. You will get an Amazon gift card, $50. And everyone who has completed the guitar sessions, you are a winner because you're that much better at guitar now. Let's see. Any questions? Yes. Wingo asks, do you have any tips for playing funk guitar? No, honestly, I've never played funk guitar. I'm sorry. I can't really think of anything to offer there. What I know of funk guitar, it's very rhythmical, and there are specific rhythms that you would probably want to learn to play. I would say you're going to need to learn at least your basic chords to start off with, and then probably some extended chords. But rhythm, I know, is very important in playing funk guitar. But that's pretty much all I could offer right now. Thank you for asking. Redskin's asking what my favorite strings are. I use a D'Addario brand, and I use from my nylon string guitars, I use all hard tension, a titanium classical type guitar string. They last longer than the regular classical guitar strings. And for acoustic guitars, I use phosphor bronze light gauge, all my acoustic guitars. And no, he's asking if I have any strange strings instruments. I don't now. I have in the past had mandolins, but no, I stick to guitar and basses. And I have several types of guitars, electric, acoustic, and nylon string guitars. He's also asking how often I change them. Usually, I change strings about every 6 months, roughly. And I don't go by time. I can go by if it doesn't sound right. And I think that's probably in about 4 to 6 months. For most beginners, once a year is probably fine, depending on how much you're practicing. When I was performing regularly, I would change much more often. Before a concert, I would usually change my strings a couple of days because I didn't want them going out of tune during a concert. And I would mostly change the guitars I was using regularly every week strings, every 2 weeks maybe, realistically. I think every week, but I really wouldn't get to it all the time. But for most practical purposes, now I'm not touring regularly. I stick with the same strings for months on end. And I have several guitars, so I'm not having to play the same guitar for hours every day. I will go between guitars. So if I was playing one guitar, I'd probably change a little more often. Again, I'm going by sound. When I can hear that they're sounding dull, I change the strings. Good questions. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And I will be back next month. I'm thinking of changing it to the second week of the month. I've been doing it on the first Thursday of the month, but I'm thinking the second Thursday of the month. Let me know if in the comments or in the comments on YouTube, or you can send me an email if you're a member of Real Guitar Success, if you have any preferences or any ideas on requests for times and days for the Real Guitar Success. Otherwise, if I don't, all things being equal, I'll probably change it to the second Thursday every month. I just have a whole bunch of stuff on the first week of the month, and it's really kind of a traffic jam of projects to get everything done. So that's my thinking. But if it matters to everyone else, I would keep it on the first Thursday every month. Bye for now. I hope to see you again next month. Take care.